Week 10, Lesson 1. Okay, so this particular lesson is on something called partial fraction decomposition. All right, and up here at the top, you'll see there's sort of the steps. I'm going to try to follow those steps. You can read them on your own. Step 1 is to factor the denominator of the given fraction. So if I'm looking at this given fraction, I'm going to factor out an x. All right, and then step 2 is to write each partial fraction. What that means is for every factor that you have, you're going to write its own fraction, and each factor is going to be sort of its own denominator. All right, and you can name the numerators anything that you want as long as they're not x. I tend to use like a capital A and a capital B, but you can name them what you like. What you're solving for here is the A and the B. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to fraction bust. So I'm actually at step number 4. I'm going to fraction bust, which means for this entire equation, the whole thing, I need to fraction bust. So I'm going to multiply all 3 fractions by x times x minus 1, x times x minus 1, x times x minus 1. So here, this denominator cancels with this, and I get negative 5x plus 4. On the second fraction, the x's cancel, and when I distribute the a, I get ax minus a. And on the third fraction, when those cancel and I multiply together, I get bx. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of clean this up a little bit, meaning I'm just going to rearrange some of the terms that I have. This side I'm going to leave alone. And then on the right side, since over here I've got the x terms first and then the constants, I'm going to do the same on the right. So anything that has an x, I'm going to put those together. And anything that's just a constant, I'm going to put that together. All right. And then I'm going to factor, and you'll see why in just a second. I'll use a highlighter to show you what I'm talking about. I'm factoring out the x out of those 2 terms. And if I grab a highlighter here, you can see that this, which is near the x, has to equal this because it's the coefficient for the x. And this, which is a constant, is going to have to equal this. So let me write both of those down. All right, it's 2 separate equations. I've got a plus b equaling negative 5, and I've got negative a equaling 4. Okay, so then it's pretty easy from this equation to see that a has to be negative 4. And if I put that into this equation, I now have negative 4 plus b equals 5, or b equals 1. So now that I know what a and b are, here is how you actually write your answer. You go back to this step, and you replace the a and the b with what you just figured out. So we've got negative 4 as a over x plus 1 over x minus 1. That is the answer. You have now, it's called decomposed this original fraction into 2 separate fractions. Okay, so let's try another one. Exact same steps. Okay, so here's example number 2. Step number 1 is to factor this denominator, which is x plus 5 times x plus 4. And then write your partial fractions, right? I'm going to have 2 of them because I have 2 different denominators here. I'm going to call this a, I'm going to call this b. Next, I'm going to fraction bust this whole thing by multiplying by that denominator. Okay, I'm not going to write that up. I think at this point you should be able to write this on your own, do a little bit of cross canceling. Make sure that you get 3x plus 10 equals ax plus 4a plus bx plus 5b. All right, so then the next step is to sort of just rearrange. I want the on the right, right? Rearrange on the right because I want the things that have x's, like these 2, together, and the things that don't have x's, the constants, right there. All right, I'm going to factor an x out of these 2 terms because they have that in common. Sorry, that's a capital B. All right, and again, I'm going to grab a highlighter to show you what's equal. This coefficient for x has to equal 3, and this constant has to equal 10. So let me write that up. Oops, wrong kind of tool. Give me a sec. A plus B has to equal 3, and 4a plus 5b has to equal 10. Okay, so now this is literally just a system of equations. I'm trying to solve for a and b. I'm going to take this one, I'm going to multiply it by -4 to eliminate the a's. So -4a, -4b, -12. So b is -2. Once I know that b is -2 and I put it in here, a minus 2 equals 3. That means that a has to equal 5. All right, so that means my whole answer, when I put the a and the b back in, is 5 over x plus 5 minus 2 over x plus 4. Okay, so now that one's, again, not too bad. Pretty easy, I think. Pretty straightforward as long as you follow the steps. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, so when I factor this and I take out an x, that leaves me with x squared minus 1, and that actually continues to factor. So you can see why this one's maybe slightly more difficult. There's 3 distinct factors in this denominator, which means over here I'm going to have 3 different fractions. One with x plus 1, and one with x minus 1. Okay, so I'm at the step where I have to fraction bust. Okay, so over on the left, I'll end up with -6x squared plus 3x plus 5. Oh, I forgot the letters, sorry. A, B, C. Okay, so let's see. On my first fraction, the x will cancel out, which leaves me with x squared minus 1. On the middle fraction, the x plus 1 will cancel, which will leave me with x squared minus x. And then on the last one, since the x minus 1 cancels out, I'm left with x squared plus x. Okay, so now I'm going to, again, I have some cleaning up to do. I'm going to distribute the a, distribute the b, distribute the c. So let's see, ax squared minus a plus bx squared minus bx plus cx squared plus cx. Okay, so now, as before, I'm going to sort of group the things that have x squares together, which leaves me with a plus b plus c, and the things that have x's together, which is -b plus c, and then the things that don't have any x's on them at all, the constants, which is actually just -a. So again, I try to color code things for you when I can. This has to equal -6, and this is going to have to equal 3, and this -a is going to have to equal 5. So in fact, right this very second, I can put, since -a equals 5, I know that a is -5. Okay, so let me rewrite this equation with the -5 in there. So -5 plus b plus c has to equal -6. In other words, b plus c equals -1. And since here I have -b plus c equaling 3, I think I get 2c equals 2 or c equals 1. Okay, so the only thing I'm missing now is b, so I can put this c kind of anywhere. I think I'll put it into that equation right there. So I get b plus 1 equals -1, or b equals -2. All right, now again, don't forget, just because you figured out a, b, and c does not mean you have stated the answer. You do need to put those back in. So here's what this answer is going to look like. -5 over x minus 2 over x plus 1 plus 1 over x minus 1. There you go.